All right, Thrive Nation, on today's edition of the Thrive Time Show, we are joined by the one and only Derek Winn. And Derek Winn joins us to share how to reduce your healthcare costs. Who's Derek Winn? Well, Derek Winn is the co-founder and the president of Distilled Concepts. If you own a small business and or want to, Derek Winn is here on today's show to share with you how you can reduce your healthcare costs. All this and more on today's edition of the Thrive Time Show on both your radio and podcast download.
Get ready to enter the Thrive Time Show.
We started from the bottom, now we here. We started from the bottom and we'll show you how to get here. Started from the bottom, now we here. We started from the bottom, now we here.
We started from the bottom, now we're on the top, teaching you the systems to get what we got. Clinton Dixon's on the hooks, I break down the books. Z's bringing some wisdom and the good looks. As the father of five, that's why I'm a dive. So if you see my wife and kids, please tell them hi. It's the C&Z up on your radio, and now 3, 2, 1, here we go.
We started from the bottom, now we here. We started from the bottom and we'll show you how to get here.
Yes, 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 and yes. Dr. Z, it is ecstasy when you are next to me, my friend.
You know it.
We're talking today about a subject that I think a lot of people don't want to talk about. People do not want to talk about it, but we need to talk about it.
We do.
People don't want to talk. Sometimes, Z, the most important things we don't want to talk about.
We don't? Why is that?
And then the things that we don't need to talk about, we want to talk about.
Oh, yeah. We can't talk enough about it.
So you hear people talking about, hey, did you see The Voice? Did you see The Masked Voice? Did you see last night the rerun of the Bang Bang of the Boom Boom? Did you see that team win the game? But nobody talks about healthcare.
Oh, no.
But yet everyone needs to, because it's a thing, and it's entrepreneurs. We own companies, and healthcare is a real cost that impacts millions of people all over this country, everybody.
Oh, yeah.
And so on today's show, we're having Derek Winn, the co-founder and president of Distilled Concepts, on the show to talk small business healthcare 101. Derek, welcome on to the Thrive Time Show. How are you?
Hey, Clay, I'm great. Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Now, Derek, before becoming the wizard of all things healthcare, where do you come from? What is your background kind of growing up as a young man?
It's a little bit different. I grew up in a really, podunk town in upstate New York, not really a lot to come from there. And the only career opportunities would really be a volunteer, firefighter, a part-time police officer, be a teacher. So I decided to go into education, and that's how I got my start. After a few years of teaching public high school, I said, hey, there's got to be something better than this. And that's how I ended up in the insurance industry.
Do you have a hell gig story about teaching high school? Was there any moment where you thought, I've got to get out of here? I mean, because I actually, Z, back in the day, I used to teach junior achievement, and one teacher said to me, she tricked me. She said, Clay, sometimes substitutes don't show up, and you did a great job volunteering for junior achievement. If we're in a bind, could we ever text you? And I had done well with the DJ business, and I wasn't looking to make extra money. And I said, yeah, sure. Not thinking they would actually call.
No, of course not.
It's like, you see somebody at a gathering, they say, we should get together. You go, yeah, sure, let's get together, sure. Not thinking you're actually going to get together.
No, of course not.
And it was rough. Being the substitute teacher for high school seniors in a home ec class they didn't want to be at, it could be called a hell gig. Derek, did you have any rough gigs there that let you know that, hey, this is not what you wanted to do?
There wasn't really anything that bad. I mean, the hardest part was really seeing, I think it's interesting, seeing kids who struggled to get by. And, not only did they not get the support they needed at home, but, they didn't come from a lot. And parents at that point, I mean, you're talking living in DC, they'd be gone 14, 16 hours a day. So it's no wonder why the kid didn't get their work done. So I think it just goes back to just the many struggles that Americans have been facing for a long time, not only in terms of like working that 9 to 5 plus traffic and plus overtime and everything else, but really kind of seeing the impact on kids. And, you talk about teaching home ec, they used to teach life skills and things like that, like how to balance a checkbook and how to do all this kind of stuff. So it's really interesting to kind of see where things are today. And you talk about the value of healthcare, and people just don't get it because they don't get that early education.
Well, let's talk about your company here, Distilled Concepts. For anybody out there that's not familiar with it, what is Distilled Concepts?
So we're a boutique advisory and consulting firm, and what we do is we help businesses who maybe either A, don't want to change their benefits broker, or B, are in a position of saying, look, we just want to get results. We want to lower our healthcare spend. whether they're a small business, large business, anywhere in between, they're really trying to find a new way to reduce healthcare costs. And that's where we came up with the name Distilled Concepts is, we're taking the purest elements of healthcare and what we can do to reduce healthcare costs and applying them to the business that wants to change.
See, I want to tap into Derek's wisdom here about healthcare.
Just tap right in there.
Because when your optometry clinic, your auto auction, I mean, everybody who works there is out there looking for health care, whether you provide that or some of the businesses, they provide their own. Everybody listening to this show is looking for health care. So, Derek, let's get into your wisdom here. What are a couple of things you feel like every listener out there needs to know about health care for small businesses?
I think the biggest thing is, and this is going to be on both the employer and the employee side, the biggest thing is people need to start to take action. The question is, why is healthcare so expensive? Because we've allowed it to be so expensive. People don't ask enough questions. People don't do their homework when it comes down to understanding what they can do to reduce their healthcare costs. So I think, again, that's the place where everyone needs to start, is just to simply ask questions like, why is this so expensive? What am I doing to buy healthcare, and how can I do that differently? And again, not just on the individual side, but even on the business side.
So let's talk about this. Why is healthcare so expensive?
Well, one of the big things that we come back to is, I'll give you an example on this, and it goes back to, again, people have allowed it to be that way. Use an example from today. Netflix sent out an email to their entire customer base. They're increasing fees, right, by like $1. Right? Well, how many people are going to cancel their Netflix subscription because they don't want to pay $1 more per month? Will that make a difference? Well, in healthcare, we're not dealing in usually dollars. We're dealing in tens or hundreds of dollars at a time. The costs have gone up. So what you've got to keep in mind is healthcare providers are different from health insurers. And generally speaking, people have an issue with the one that they're closest to, which is generally their health insurer. Because their health insurer is the one that says your deductible is X, your copay is X, your premium is X every month, not fully realizing that that's just a financing mechanism to buy health care. So when you think about how that's all happening, well, number one, health insurance companies are allowing costs to go up, right? They're signing contracts with providers to keep them in network by keeping them happy and paying them more. Well, that's also your money they're paying them with. There's also natural cost inflation. You think about prescription drug costs going up. Compare what your family has spent, over the last 10 years and where it is today. And you're going to see costs are up in every area of healthcare, mostly because we've allowed it to be that way.
So what can our listeners do right now, or how could your company help our listeners right now to reduce their healthcare costs?
Well, the first thing people have to do is really take a look at educating membership. So you have to educate employees, and that includes all of us, in what they can do to reduce their own personal healthcare expenses. I call that akin to like improving your credit score before you apply for financing. Why wouldn't you want to improve your credit score to get a better financing rate? Same thing applies to healthcare. The other thing that employers really have to do is build consensus, not just between, let's say, like human resources, who's generally like the biggest buyer of healthcare benefits, but also finance and employees to say, look, if we all work together, we can reduce healthcare costs. And the last thing is, and this is going to be the maybe the least most counterintuitive part, which is people have to find better doctors. It's 2020, so I can say this, and I'll give you a statement and tell me what you think about this. All politicians are good, because if we all agree on that, that means that both presidential candidates are great people, right? The problem is that we all think that all doctors are good, and there's good doctors, there's okay doctors, and there's bad doctors. We need to get people in front of the best doctors because they actually cost less money long-term than going to a shoddy doctor.
See, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass the mic over to you.
I always think about the doctor thing, since I'm kind of a faux doctor,
You're an optometrist.
I'm an optometrist. I read this little known fact the other day.
Fact.
This is a little known fact. Give me the fact.
Fact.
You've got me
from our home office.
You've got me shut down. Obviously.
I'm sorry about that.
That half the doctors out there.
Yeah.
This is math. Half the doctors,
which is 1 out of 2. 50%.
Yeah. 50% graduated in the lower half of their class.
1 second. Let me think about that. 50% of doctors. I don't know. It's kind of a romantic.
Carl, would you get on that test?
Hey, okay, I get it. I get what you're saying now. I get what you're saying now.
No, but he brings up a good point. And why do you think that is? Because they're just more efficient. They get you in, get you out, less visits. They know what they're doing. They get it right the first time. I mean, why is that?
All the above. It's all the above because think about this. For a hospital, the best customer is a repeat customer. So like if I'm a hospital and I've got a high infection rate, well, yeah, I'm probably going to end up costing more than the next guy. Same
Carl,
thing
you just earned your
revisions and
VIP
redos.
card.
Yeah.
Sorry to jump on you like that, but and so when you say you got to get educated, you got to start now. You got to what do you do? Everybody in the country calls you. What's our next step? What's an action step for me to get better savings, better doctors? I mean, how do I know if a doctor's better? Where is that?
So there's a problem, there's an opportunity in that, right? The biggest problem is the lack of transparency in healthcare today. Try calling your doctor. Like we could do this live on the phone right now. We could call and try to get a price for an MRI, and most of them are going to have the same answer, which is call your insurance company, right? So what I did is I said, look, there's two different paths you can take. You can either go do the homework, which I recommend everybody always does, but you could also take 3 simple tips that I've got. And if you can remember these 3 tips, then you're going to be in a better position.
All right, here we go.
So the first one, this is going to sound hokey. Remember, this is coming from a high school teacher. Shop for your prescriptions where you shop for your peanut butter. Because who buys peanut butter at the grocery store or at the pharmacy?
Ooh.
Repeat that one more time. Someone's trying to grasp it.
Yeah. So shop for your prescriptions where you shop for your peanut butter. Because how many people buy peanut butter at the pharmacy?
Right. So is that smooth or creamy, or does it matter?
I'm a Peter Pan guy.
Yeah.
Creamy. Always.
I'm crunchy. I like a little action in
Surely
there.
you can't be serious.
I like a little action.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
And don't call me Shirley.
Okay. So
step
what,
one.
That's step one. What's
In other words,
step 2?
don't go shopping at pharmacies for your drugs, right? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, because compare the price for a prescription at CVS versus Costco, or the price at Walgreens versus Walmart. What you're going to find is that most of the time those are going to be lower in cost at the big box retailers. Just like everything else you buy, like peanut butter. Get a 5 pound can at Walmart for like a fraction of the price.
Does CVS sell peanut butter? I don't think they do.
Yeah, it's expensive. I did a whole video on it.
Yeah, but you would never go shopping for it there because you're not an idiot.
Well, only
Oh,
if
I get it
really
now.
was in a
Okay.
pinch.
That was
There
the
we
point.
go.
That was the point.
There we go. Oh,
okay.
gosh. Okay.
What's step 2, Derek?
Always keep in mind, the bigger the building, the bigger the bill. So, take it like anything else in life. If you walk into the hospital because you need a strep throat, you've got a strep test you've got to do at a hospital. It's going to cost you about 5 to 10 times more than going to a freestanding facility like an urgent care center.
That's why I always go to that doctor that works out of that RV. He just
The one
drives around.
who takes the cash in the bag?
Yeah.
For brain
yeah.
surgery.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No,
Absolutely.
he's good. And he's always open. And if you just know where he's parked, you can just knock on the door. You get a little action.
He's referring to a man who drives around in it's a brown van.
It's an RV, really. It's a recreational.
He does.
It's actually a TV. It's
It's
a therapeutical
deep
vehicle.
discount proctologist.
Well, it's a spot.
And you said the van is all brown?
No, he said it.
Sorry.
Inside or out?
You don't recommend
He
Derek.
makes fun of my doctor's choices, obviously.
You don't recommend seeing a doctor in a van
Obviously.
who takes cash only in a van, correct?
I mean, unless it's covered in hair, like like I've got worms, like in Dumb and Dumber, right?
Oh, that's sexy. You're right, man.
Now, what is tip number 3, Derek? I'm sorry. What's tip number 3?
I mean, this comes back to finding better doctors. So whenever you have a doctor that recommends as the first step, let's say surgery, go get a second opinion. I'll tell you my story. I was told 5 years ago there was a, oddly enough, 60% chance I would need to have back surgery. And I got a second opinion. Second opinion doctor says, hey, go get injections, start physical therapy and lose weight, right? And I ended up, here I am now, no surgery, all better, avoided it. Surgeries are also a great subscription program.
Hey, Derek, I don't know what your tips 4, 5, 6, and 7 are, but I think this might be your 8.
Probably my best tip is tip number 8. Always keep bags of your own poop. Collect it throughout your stay. and just have it ready.
How is that a tip?
Is that 8? Is that
tip 8?
Is that tip?
I don't know. I think that's further down the list.
Yeah, probably.
I got a few more before.
Now, we have kind of a town hall here, okay? We've got an attorney here, James,
Yes,
his
sir.
website. James, tell Derek your website.
Hi, Derek. The Lawyer James. TheLawyerJames.com.
He's from Manhattan. He's got a deep-seated attitude problem. We have Aaron Antis. He's the owner of Oklahoma's, or one of the owners of Oklahoma's largest home building companies, and he recently was released from jail after rioting for months on end with Antifa. And so we got a really kind of a Mad Max crew of people here. No, but in all sincerity, James, what question do you have about small business health care for Derek Winn?
Do you have a favorite group of providers that you would recommend? Is there some sort of hot list, or at least a resource out there that would sort of describe the benefits of one provider versus another?
There's the hard part is again, it comes back to like the transparency. So you're talking like health insurance provider, or you talking health care provider?
I was talking health insurance provider.
Yeah, I mean, like that's largely dependent based on the state. So like, for example, in some states you might find you have less options than other states. What generally is going to be consistent though, is it depends on how you're buying healthcare. So if you're an individual, for example, buying through the individual market, you're going to be pretty limited. But as you grow and as a business grows, for example, as you get over, let's say 25 to 50 employees, you actually start to develop options to self-insure your health plan. So think about this. Who wins when you go to the casino? The casino, the house always wins. Well, are insurance companies really that good at losing money like they tell you they are every year, right? Instead of betting against the house, be the house and self-insure your health plan. So depending on the size of your business, the best option might be right in front of you, which is to self-insure.
That answer your question?
Yes, it did. Yeah,
okay, Aaron Antis, you have a mystical way of A, selling a lot of houses, and B, painting our guests into a corner from which they cannot recover. This is like a White House press conference is how it's going to feel. It's going to be antagonistic.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be rough. It never goes well.
Yeah.
With that being said, what question do you have, Aaron Antis, for the good one, the great one, Derek Winn?
Sure, Derek. You mentioned about shopping, like you would shop for your peanut butter. Well, my question is, Good RX. Is that a best way to shop for prescriptions? Because, I've gone on there before. I was literally standing there checking out, and somebody walks up to me and says, "Hey, do you have the Good RX app? You should just look on there, and that'll get your cost down just by looking at it." And I'm literally about to hand the lady my credit card, and I looked, and it was like a tenth of the cost at a place 10 minutes away, and I just was like, wow. I can't believe this isn't a little bit more transparent, that one would charge 10 times what somebody else would. Is that a move?
Is it a move?
It's a move, right? The question is it the best move? So long story short, the part of your health plan that actually helps to administer all of those prescription benefits is called a prescription benefit manager, PBM, right? PBMs have 36 ways that they can drive profit to themselves, and most health plans own the PBM. So GoodRx is a way to kind of short circuit that. And you recently saw the IPO around GoodRx, where they finally revealed how they make their money, and they're using many of the same tricks that a PBM deploys. So one of the biggest things you could do is you could actually ask, and every patient should reserve the right to do this, no matter where they buy healthcare, is to request what the cash price is. If you're in a situation where it's a low dollar medication, like not an expensive med, and you're also in a situation where you're probably not going to meet your deductible or out-of-pocket maximum, it may make sense just to pay cash and not run it through your health plan. It all depends. What we do on our side is we help employers to maximize some of the same programs that GoodRx deploys. So for example, you can use some of the deeper discounts available through other PBMs to actually cut your prescription spend. And in some cases, there's actually a number of great manufacturer programs that help to make those drugs more accessible. A lot of those are going to be needs-based, based on income. But literally, we can take a drug. I mean, we've got a client right now. They've got a patient who's on a medication that's $12,000 a month.
Whoa.
We're applying $3,000 a month of patient assistance. So we're literally saving that employer $36,000 a year over what they would have paid with a PBM.
Well,
so
that is good. I mean, Clay had mentioned to me that he typically pays cash for his OxyContin. It was I don't know. It was kind of
but
in
he's
an
buying the
alley
expensive
where
kind.
he was
He's getting it over. He's getting it over like the dumpster, not over the counter.
Right.
Well, first off, okay. If you're looking for a discount on illegal drugs. You want to go to 11th and Garnett, and you want to ask for a guy named Sneaks. Now, what you'll do is you go around the dumpster. There's a green dumpster, over there.
Right,
There's a it used to be a Luby's. It's shut down.
Shut down.
You go. I don't know why Luby's was a popular gig.
Oh,
you go
I
in
love
there.
little bowls of Jell-O.
What you do is you walk around the back and you knock on the door and you go, and you leave the bag there.
With the cash?
And then he passes you the stuff, and then he'll exchange for you.
Do you buy peanut butter?
Life-ruining drugs that will make your life.
Do you buy peanut butter from Sneaks? That's what I want to know.
That's why I went to him.
Well, if you're buying your peanut butter there, then I guess I approve of the move.
Yeah.
Derek, I want to ask you this, okay? Because I respect your time, and I also want the listeners to be able to help. I want our listeners to be able to reduce
And
their healthcare costs.
I got a powerful question.
How can our listeners reach out to you before Z asks you the question? How can they, if they want to reduce their healthcare costs, can you help them do this, or what can you do to help our listeners?
Yeah, so I'm most active on LinkedIn. You can find me there. I'm just Derek Winn. You can also find us at distilled-concepts.com.
Distilled-concepts.com. Distilled-concepts.com. If they go there, they fill out a form. Can they then schedule like a free consultation or something to learn how you can help them? Or how does that work?
Yeah, just shoot us a note on the website. I'll talk to anybody. That's my big thing is I want to help more people. And if it's not a good fit, we'll tell you. If we think it's a good fit, then we'll talk about how we can help.
Derek, there's a lot of small business owners listening right now. And what is the current state of national legal mandates on health care? It's changed a lot since I got into business. And where do you see it going from here in your personal opinion? So let's say I'm a guy that owns a Subway store and I got 7 employees. What's my obligation? What do I have to do? What do I need to do? Where are we right now in the state of mandated health care for small businesses?
Yeah, so small businesses, the only reason you offer healthcare is the same reason employers have always offered healthcare before ACA, I'll put it that way, before Obamacare, and that was to attract and retain employees and take care of them. That's the only reason you do that still under 50 employees. Over 50 employees, Obamacare created mandates, right? So they said, hey, if you don't offer health insurance, then you have to pay penalties, right?
Right.
And that's just the really abbreviated version of it. Here's what I come back to, which is employers for years and years offered healthcare, and now they're painted into a corner, right? They kind of like fell into the slippery trap of providing it, and now they don't really have a choice unless they want to pay penalties or find new ways to do it. So where it's going is, based on, where we are right now with the election determining all of that, it looks like it's going to get more complicated for employers. I'm calling it Obamacare 2.0 coming up in 2021 at that point. A lot of the same gang is back from the initial administration. So I think it is going to get more challenging. Costs are not going to go down short term. The takeaway for every employer who's listening is, help isn't coming. You need to kind of start to figure this out on your own, because there is not going to be any sweeping reform that's going to lower healthcare costs.
Derek,
it's just not going to happen.
Right, of course not. If the direction that seems like it's happening. But a question for you: if you have more than 50 people and you want to have a self-insured plan, what's the threat? Is that possible? Is that legal? And then maybe have a catastrophic catastrophic plan on top of that. Do you recommend that? Does that pass the legal threshold? Talk to me about that.
Yes, so absolutely would recommend looking at it. Whether or not it makes sense for every group is going to be different from group to group. You might be getting a great deal on a fully insured health plan right now. The term self-funded is usually a misnomer. Most plans are actually partially self-funded because they're all backstopped by some sort of risk protection. Unless you're a jumbo company, you're buying stop loss. So all that is again looking at financing mechanisms to say, hey, how much risk do you want to take, and how much risk do you want to sell off to someone else? Right. You pay them, and that's it.
Z, we have time for 2 more questions. I think the next question is going to be a hard-hitting one. Aaron Antis, a lot of times he'll lay down the hammer, and it's called the hammer.
Hammer.
He'll lay it down.
Hammer time.
And guests their faces will melt, and they never want to come back. So with that being said, Aaron, what's your next question about reducing healthcare costs?
It's actually more of a velvet hammer play than an actual hammer.
Wow.
I actually have a question. You seem like an extremely educated person. You know your business inside out. What is a resource you would say people could go to? Is there anywhere else that they could go to gather all the information that you've gleaned in an easy manner?
Yeah, so, our website might be a good stop for that. I rate all the content for our website, so that's one place to start.
That's impressive.
The other thing I'd say, though, is, it depends on how they want to consume content. There's a ton of great podcasts out there. There's a ton of great videos. It all comes down to the reputable source. I'll tell you one that's just like the guy's entertaining. He's fun to listen to. Is called Dr. Eric Bricker. He runs a website called ahealthcarez.com. He's awesome. But what he does is he puts down, they're pretty technical. So, they're geared toward our industry for sure. He'll put out 5 to 10 minute videos every day, just talking about some of the perils from the side of an actual physician. So here's a doctor telling you about the potential perils of the healthcare system. Where I come in on that is I'm a former educator. So all we're doing is helping to educate people and employers in terms of how to turn things around. But there's a number of great resources out there. There's a ton of great books. If you want to read about how crazy it can be, read An American Sickness by Elizabeth Rosenthal. It's a great book.
Okay. Z, final question I have here. I think there's a lot of people out there that are seeing their healthcare costs go up and up and up, and they're wanting to know, is there anything that they can actually do practically? Like if they took action right now, is there something they could do right now that has a chance of helping them to save money? On a practical level, is it something if they reached out to you, can somebody save 5%, 10%? Is that a real thing? Could somebody actually have hope of saving some money?
Yeah, so I think, again, whether it's an individual or a business, absolutely. So the question is, how much risk are you taking versus how much risk are you paying someone else to take? If you're the type of person that consumes very little healthcare and you're still on like a low to no deductible health program, then you're probably flushing money down the toilet, because why are you paying over $20,000 a year to cover a family if, based on recent statistics, you're part of the healthiest part of America? Your family might be consuming less than $4,000 a year in actual health care. So one of the things you do is you start to defer some of that risk or take on some of that risk depending on your situation. If you're taking on risk, at that point, it just comes down to shopping around. If someone tells you to go get an MRI, don't go to the hospital to get an MRI, shop it around. You'll probably find that the imaging center is probably a fifth the price like it is in our market here in Fairfax, Virginia.
It's just crazy to me that something could be a fifth of the cost.
A fifth?
Yeah.
No, my buddy, my doctor buddy with the RV has an MRI in the back of it, and it's probably a tenth of the cost. So I think you got to shop that thing around a lot. Yeah.
Turns out it wasn't an MRI. He says you'll need to drop your pants.
I know he wanted to pay me when I went there.
No, it was a CAT scan. He's got 2 of them in cages.
Sorry,
in the back of his
we're
RV.
passively working through a lot of issues here. As you can tell, Derek, we're working
Takes
through
the cat and just takes it over your whole body.
That sound that you thought
Just a cat.
that sound that you thought was an MRI pounding over and over again was actually a homeless man outside of the van banging his head against the outside of
Derek,
the van.
I appreciate you for being here. One more time. What's your website, sir?
Distilled-concepts.com.
All right, brother. Thank you so much. Hope you have a great rest of your day.
Likewise. Thank you all.
Take care, brother.
Right, take care.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
And now, without any further ado, 3,